All right, the format for this meeting is a 10-minute speaker, our secretary's announcements, a coffee break and a snack break, and our main speaker. Our first speaker for tonight is Keith.
Hi everyone, my name is Keith. I'm an alcoholic. I want to thank Keith for inviting us. 10 minutes, wow. Well, I mean, as a kid, I think I was pretty much like some of us can say. I never felt normal. So I took my first drink at the age of 9 because my parents kept a full bar at home. They used to always have a little get-together. So that was my first time to have a drink at the age of 9. And I did that after seeing my older brothers and sister go in there and pour water in it after they would drink some. So I said, let me try this. I was very shy. I was a nerd, what you would call a nerd today. I wanted to be a scientist, and I was always in my room or somewhere by myself. I never fit in. I never felt like I fit in. And to be honest with you guys, there's some times today I feel the exact same way. What normally ended up happening, though, is I continued to drink and those things began to happen. I was always a good student. I no longer was a good student. And then I ran into those people that did the same things that I did. And before you know it, I'm getting into a lot of trouble. There was one thing that I was able to do that was very good when I was in high school, and that was that I was able to play basketball and drink. And some type of way I ended up getting a scholarship to Prairie View A&M, Texas. And I had gotten into so much trouble by this time that my parents said, no, you can't go. So being the good old alcoholic that I was, that was another excuse for me to continue to drink. And that's what I did, until my father came home one day and said, that's it, you got to get out of here. I'm tired of every time I go to work, you're in here drinking, and when I come home, you're drinking, you got to go. By this time, I've had a son at the age of 16, and I'm ready to run. So what I do is I join the Navy. I joined the Navy in 1980, and when I get there, music to my ears. You can drink all the alcohol you want, just don't do any drugs. So I landed just where I needed to, and that's what I did for the next 3 years. I broke every rule that you can break in the Navy in those 3 years. I got 10 captain's masts. The average person only gets 2 to 3. But I was playing basketball for our ship, and our admiral was winning money off of me, so he kept me in the Navy. But as soon as he left that command, I ended up getting in trouble, and I got kicked out. I got kicked out of the Navy in 1983, and I moved in with a young lady in Oakland, and now I have a daughter. So now I have a daughter, and I have a son on the south side of Chicago, but I was in the Navy. I was stationed in Alameda, California. So I said, there's these people in California that's a problem. I need to go back to Chicago. I went back to Chicago, and I really crashed there. I started doing those humiliating things, stealing from my parents and things of that nature. So in 1988, I was telling my father, hey, a girl that I used to date lives in California now. She said if I ever want to come out there, that I can come out there and start over. Because, I was stationed out in San Francisco and Oakland, but I had never been to California. So he said, okay. So the next day he came to me, he said, hey, Keith. I was like, yeah. He had me 2 pair of pants, 2 shirts, and a plane ticket. And his saying is that my mother was no longer my mother. When he would refer to her, he would refer to her as my wife, because that's how much I was stressing her out, that I was no longer her son. He just felt I was someone there. He used to tell me, you're not my son, you're just somebody existing in his body. And I landed here at LAX September 22nd of 1988, and I was moved in with that young lady, and I was on Skid Row by January of 1989. For some reason, I do things quick. Not the stuff I'm supposed to, but when it comes to alcohol, that's what happened. Got into a lot of trouble down there, and one day I was walking around down on Skid Row, and a gentleman said they got beds over in Pasadena at the Salvation Army. And I went over there, and that was when I was first introduced to the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. I went to my first meeting at the 202 Club in 1989, and didn't get it at first. It took me a few relapses, but I finally got it. My birthday is 11/7/89. I've been trudging this road now for a minute. My life has totally changed, and since I said I have to do this every day, I decided to work in this field I've been working in this field now for 35 years, and I love what I do. I love seeing somebody walk through my doors with their pants hanging down, their neck this way, and talking crazy, and I straighten them up, pull their pants out, and push them out, and hope that I see them in these rooms. Thank God for the 12 steps. When I got here, I was introduced to those, and that's what introduced me to the God of my understanding. And after doing that, guys, I started trudging, and I started sponsoring, and got me a commitment, and I did the things that they suggested that I do around here. My home group is 185 Altadena. They talk to you bad over there. They don't say stuff like, come in, have a seat. They say, shut up and sit down. If you don't get this, you're gonna die. You don't have no business, things of that nature. And that's what I do today with people I sponsor. I tell them the exact same thing. You know, I've been around here long enough to go to enough funerals. Recently, I've been going to a lot of funerals for people, my friends that have been around here for years, 30, 35 years, 38. And they're passing away due to the direct result of our drinking and using. So in closing, I just want to say this to people. Please go and get a checkup and check on your health. It doesn't make sense for us to be clean and sober every day and then go to the doctor and get bad news. You all speaker tonight is my significant other. About 5 months ago, because she likes to lay on my chest, and she said, your heart sounds funny. And me being a joke, I was like, that's because I love you, and it's just ticking like that. But I'm one that I don't play. I go to the dentist. I use my insurance. I go to the dentist. I go to the doctor, and I went to the doctor, and I was told then that I had congestive heart failure. But then I've gone back, and I've been told by the cardiologist that I don't have congestive heart failure. But I'm one of those, I don't care. It's a sign in there somewhere. So I'm eating better. I'm in the gym and doing what I need to do because I want to be around here a lot longer. You know, so I highly suggest that, you know, don't just come in the rooms and sit in here, but please go to the doctor and find out what's going on with you, because I don't think he brought us this far to drop us off and something ends up happening. For those that are new to the program, I want to welcome you. But I want to beg you to stay. Whatever's going on in your life, it will change. But you have to stay here for that to happen. Get some commitments, get some phone numbers, you know, get a big book, get a coffee pot, start your own meeting. I don't care what you do, but don't go back out there because there's nothing out there but death. You know, I hope that you've heard something today or you'll hear something from the next speaker coming up that'll let you know that, you know, we are very blessed to be here. Some people didn't wake up this morning, and we're very blessed to be here. It was a pleasure. Again, I want to thank Keith for asking me out, and I want to thank you guys for being here and listening to me. My name is Keith. I'm an alcoholic.
All right, I hope everyone enjoyed their break. Now our main speaker will share her experience, strength, and hope with us. Please join me in welcoming Carla from the Valley.
Hi, family. My name is Carla, and I am a recovered alcoholic. And hi. I want to thank God for my life. I want to thank Him for your life as well. Because somebody might be sitting up in here not feeling that grateful about their life, and that's okay. I just beg of you to keep coming back one day at a time and allow us to love you until you can love yourself. That's what I learned in Alcoholics Anonymous, that I get to love you without your permission. And I'm okay with that. The only reason why I know that is because when I came in here, I wasn't feeling lovable, and I certainly didn't want to hug you. I was angry. I didn't know what AA was about. I didn't know what 12 steps was. It just seemed like more homework. But there were some old-timers that loved me just where I was. They came to me just where I was. Because they knew if it was too much up here, I wasn't going to identify. So I was going to talk my way out the door. And if it was too much down there, then it was going to sound like this is some bullshit. That's how it was going to sound. And I would have still been out the door. So I'm really grateful for anybody who is older than I am for being here when I got here. My sobriety birthday is June 13th, 1998. So last month, I celebrated 28 years of continuous sobriety, and I get to do that one day at a time with people all over the world in rooms just like this. I'm just really, really grateful. Keith, thank you for asking me to come out and share my experience, strength, and hope. And Keith, thank you for sharing and for joining me this evening. So I got to tell you, okay, because he's laughing. He's on the inside. So Dick asked us, are we married or are we a couple? And I just looked at him. And Keith looked at him like this. I was like, we're not married, but... And so Dick said, oh, so you're not a couple tonight? Did something happen in the car? Was the ride too long? And that's the beautiful thing about the 12-step process. Because he was right. He's not my favorite right now. But it's okay. Because I get to love him right where he is. I might not be his favorite right now. How about that? Because, I think it's all about me, but it's really not all about me. But he gets to love me right where I'm at. And I'm grateful for that. That we get to laugh through the pain and get to the other side and go, whew, we made it. I'm from New York, and I'm born into a family. Half the family is Irish German. The other half of the family is from Barbados and African. So I have 4 demographics of people that should never, ever, ever drink, right? And growing up in New York, I grew up in the suburbs, so I grew up in a big house, upper middle class, big yard, pool in the backyard, sauna, all that good stuff, right, in Long Island, right? So, but here I am in the 60s, born with blonde hair and blue eyes, and my family ranges in color from the top to the bottom. So I don't know what feeling less than or different means until I do. And I got it from my family. The people who were supposed to love me, right? The people that were supposed to love me no matter what. That's not my story. I was judged out the womb. But I got to tell you, that's not why I'm an alcoholic, right? It's not why I'm an alcoholic. If you're new, I want to welcome you. And I want to encourage you to stay. And to stay and sit all the way down in your seat. Just don't sit down, sit all the way down. And Keith was talking about how the old timers used to talk with, that's how he used to talk to me. Okay, because he's the old timer for me. I'm 98, he's 89. They were not nice. They didn't care about our feelings. They used to say things like, if we baby them, we bury them. Yeah, with stuff like that. And I'm grateful for that. Because if you all came at me soft and nice and warm and fuzzy, and there goes my manipulation activator, right? They think I'm cute, right? That's what I'm thinking. So now I can manipulate something. I could run something up in here. And that was the last thing that needed to happen. So if you're new, I want to welcome you. Ryan, Owen, I want to welcome you and ask you to stay and get a big book. And that big book comes with a sponsor. And if you're anything like me, you really need a sponsor. Because I came in educated, right? I know how to read. Why I need a sponsor? Why I got to sit down with somebody to read a book? That was me all day long, right? But I'm reading with an alcoholic mind. And I didn't know that. So I had to come in and be willing just to listen. That's what I had to be willing to do. I came in and I was given a set-aside prayer. God help me set aside everything I think I know so I can have a new experience with you, these steps, and myself. Because like the old timers told me, I don't know nothing about nothing. And they were very serious about that. They didn't say it like that. I'm saying the nice version, you know. Growing up in New York, though, you know, there was always parties in my house. Everybody came to our house for the party. You know, downstairs we had a finished basement, and there was a big bar my dad had made, and I always remember that Budweiser clock that had a light, and it would flash like in a real bar when I saw it on TV. So I really thought we had a bar. You know, we had a jukebox, all of that, but it was for fun. Because my dad was not alcoholic. My mom wasn't alcoholic. They partied on the weekends. Everybody came over to our house. Our house was the house. And everybody went downstairs, and I was the kid that was on the steps creeping to see what was going on downstairs. Because, you know, it started out, you know, ha, 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 you know, oh, we having a good time. And then it was like, ha, 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 ha. You know, that's how it ended up, right? So I wanted to know where was that gut laughter coming from? And it was coming from probably those drinks. But the thing is, with my parents, they did this on the weekend, but Monday through Friday, everything was calm. You know, I'm a recovered domestic violence survivor. And I say that because my domestic violence did not come from my parents, it came from my siblings. I'm the youngest of many. And when I say the youngest, the next sibling next to me is 9 years older, then 12 years older, then 15 years older, then 17 years older, and these are all sisters. So in my house, it was like I had all these mamas. And everybody was always telling me what to do. But they had resentments that I was born. And I carried that weight with me until I got sober, because I became a professional people pleaser, right? I always wanted to make you feel good, even though you were kicking the crap out of me. And I didn't understand why you even hated me. And the truth was, they hated me because I was born. And I was told that every day I looked different than my sisters. You know, I was a lot younger, so they had to take me sometimes with them when they wanted to go and drink, because alcoholism is a family disease in my house, right? So all of my sisters are in recovery or have had issues with alcohol, and the cousins are drugs. And I call them cousins because I do respect Alcoholics Anonymous. But I'm so glad that doctor, in the doctor's opinion, talked about alcoholic and drug addiction. He talked about it 3 times before I even got to Bill's story. And see, I needed to see that because I'm an alcoholic that came through another fellowship that didn't know she was an alcoholic. Because alcohol didn't bring me to my knees, the cousin did, right? But it always started and it always ended with alcohol. And I couldn't see that because my life didn't become unmanageable in my mind until the cousins appeared. But the truth is that I don't even like the taste of alcohol. I drink for the effect produced by alcohol. That's it and that's all. I just wanted the effect. So I never drank just to sip on no, I drank because I wanted that effect, and that was it. And then I was done with it because my body would say, yeah, you don't even really want that. You want that. And I didn't know why. I didn't know what that allergy was. I didn't know that I couldn't stop doing whatever I was doing. I didn't know that my body doesn't know the difference between alcohol or which cousin. Take a cousin, any cousin, doesn't know the difference. But I didn't know all this information until I got into Alcoholics Anonymous and studied that book. And I say study that book because it's a textbook, it's not a novel. And I still study it today, every day, every single day. I'm in that textbook. 3 degrees later, I've never studied any book the way I study that book, Alcoholics Anonymous. And I'm grateful that the other fellowship that I was in studied from the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, because I was able to see my alcoholism and my relationship with alcohol that interrupted my life long before I got here. So before there was alcohol and the friends, there was me. Because from a sober state of mind, I'm cray-cray, right? I got stuff going on. I'm a people pleaser. I'm trying to fix stuff. I'm trying to fix you, not knowing that I can't even fix me. It doesn't help that I'm a Virgo. I'm just saying. Oh, you understand, okay. Yeah. So, there are things that are going on, and I do everything alcoholically. So what I decided to do was I wanted to be the best at anything that I did. So I was an athlete. I played every sport that you can play because I remember I told you that I was getting the crap beat out of me at home. So I did everything to stay out the house. Baseball, basketball, football. Football before they let girls play Pop Warner, by the way. Thank you very much. Soccer, volleyball, anything with a ball except for a boy. I was playing with him. And that's what I did. And I wasn't even able to see that until I came in here and did an inventory. That most of the things that I did it like that. Because anything to take myself out of Carla, I was in. I was in. So it started there until it was time for me to go to high school. I'm in middle school. And in New York, they have these schools that you can audition for a specific talent, like fashion and art, music and art, performing arts, Brooklyn Tech, depending on what, aviation, for these careers. But all of these schools were located outside of Long Island or Queens. That meant I had to go to the city, the big city. I'm in. So I auditioned for the High School of Performing Arts, and I get in. And I got in just because there was a lot of luck involved and willingness, because I did everything that I needed to do, because I'm an overachiever, right? So I walk into a studio and I say, hey, I'm going to audition for the school. And the woman says, okay, well, how long have you been dancing? And I'm like, now. And she's looking at me like, no, that's not going to happen. And I was like, yes, you don't understand. I will take every class that you offer in the studio to get me in that school. And that's what I did. So I did the work. So I say that to tell you that I'm not scared of work. I have a really crazy work ethic. And I say crazy because back then, I didn't realize I was willing to go to any lengths just to get the hell up out the house. I was plotting how to get out the house at 12. Not the same way my sisters did it, because what they did was they found him, and then they got pregnant, and then you had to go, because that's the kind of household I was in, right? My mother wasn't having it. But I saw each and every one of them do that, and I was like, yeah, well, I'm not going to do that, so I need to figure something else out. And so I spent a lot of time as well by myself. But when I was by myself in the garage, I was making up characters and talking to myself and answering myself and, doing little things and making up stuff. I had a very creative mind, and so I went for it. So fast forward, I got into the high school, and my life changed. I did the same thing with the arts that I did with the athletics. So I'm already an athlete, so now I'm switching over and now I'm a dancer, right? And I'm taking every class that's in New York City. Every prominent school you could think of, I've been there and had a scholarship. I wasn't just going. I had to get a scholarship. And my parents could afford to send me. But no. I don't want to owe them anything. That's the thinking. Because I'm already knowing I'm out. I'm not coming back. So for a 13-year-old to feel that way, out of place, alone, but I always had to perform. I had a performative nature because that was my survival. I still ain't had a drink, y'all. I still haven't had a drink. Once I took that drink, it just set off everything else that I was doing. It was the period behind everything that I was chasing. That drink, that one drink, was the period. Now, I wasn't an everyday drinker. It didn't matter. I set off the allergy. My allergy sets off not just in substances. My allergy sets off in behavior. Because I do crazy shit in a sober state of mind. I have torn up countries in a sober state of mind without a drink or a drug. And I've had to make amends for stuff not under the influence. This is early on. Now I've been separated from stuff, so now when I have to make an amends, it's because, yeah, you know, you're crazy. Did some crazy things. You know, you crossed the line. So now, you know, I'm traveling all over the world, and I'm bringing this up because I don't know if anybody said that they were from out of town, but I travel all over the world. I travel all over the states. I go to meetings all over the world. I go to meetings every state that I go to. I call and let the states and countries know I'm coming when I get on the plane. Because, and not because I think I'm going to drink. It's not even that. It's the ism that's behind alcohol. The alcoholism, the ism right now is bigger than the alcohol. It will always be about alcohol and the cousins. They're just a little arrested right now. But my behavior, without those 12 steps, and those principles behind the steps, and those concepts that we don't hear about too much anymore, and the traditions that a lot of people don't even know what, you know, they just see them on the wall. I had to do everything. I had to do a little bit of everything when I came in here. It wasn't just one thing. I didn't just get a sponsor and then just go through the, They had me going to CODA meetings. They had me going to tradition meetings. I went to concept meetings. I went to GSRs, you know, all of that. Service, every commitment that there is, I've done. And I did it because my life was on the line. And I understood the ism of alcoholism. My biggest problem was not alcohol. My biggest problem is my mind. Now, once I have a taste of alcohol, then all bets are off. Because my body takes over. And that's the part that I didn't understand. That my mind could say, okay, it's time to go pick up those kids. And my body's like, fuck them kids. Kids? We ain't doing that. And I couldn't understand why. Thank God for that big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Thank God for that doctor's opinion. Because I studied that doctor's opinion, it made me want more and more and more and more. I started from the beginning of the book. I didn't look at step 1 and say, okay, let me get to step 9 and start making some amends. Because half the people I thought I needed to make amends to, I didn't. The people that I said, I'll never, that justifiable anger, they did me wrong. I had to do that to save my life, to save my sanity, to save my peace. Because I came in here with a soul sickness. My soul was so sick and I didn't know it because, see, I can't see my soul. I can't see my soul, and I can convince myself that my soul is okay in my own voice. I can convince myself that everything is good in my own voice. So I came in here reluctantly, but I did, because after years of everything looking good, then it just all came crashing down. And the crash down for me looked like I was 85 pounds looking like a zipper, right? Anything that I wore designer was wearing me. I went through marriages and relationships, had babies, took the babies on the road with me, and come on, this is what we do. This is what I do. Still not asking for help. None of that. They call that independent. I called it survival. That's all I knew. And I still have a hard time sometime today balancing that part of my brain. Oh, I can ask y'all for some help when it comes down to, but I'm just talking about just the day-to-day stuff. My life has never been normal. I've never lived a normal life. I don't even know what that looks like. I've tried to see what it looked like in sobriety. I went back to school, got a degree, said, okay, I'll be a psychologist, and then I can work from 9 to 5 and feel like everybody else too, right? Because, see, I work on Christmas, I work on New Year's, I'm doing 2 shows a night, I'm doing, we don't have holidays in the entertainment industry. We don't. So my whole world is backwards. So I become a psychologist and start working in treatment facilities, and, treatment is great. But it's not recovery. Treatment is designed to keep you separated from your environment and from the substance, and to get a taste, the seed is being planted. But it's not the program of recovery. I came in here in '97 to a treatment facility in Glendale. And again, I came in because I was 85 pounds looking like a zipper, and I knew I needed help. I knew that something was really, really, really wrong. Just didn't know what it was. So I walk into a treatment facility, and I was supposed to be there at 10 o'clock in the morning. Of course, I didn't get there until 10 o'clock at night. You know why. I just wasn't done, right? So I get there at 10 o'clock at night, and there's a meeting going on, and there's shift changes going, and there's all kind of pandemonium going on. And I'm just standing there watching it because now they can't find my paperwork. People cannot find my paperwork, and I'm like, okay, cool. I'll come back tomorrow, right? Like any other good alcoholic would say, right? Well, there was a young man there, and he had on glasses, and he was doing something, and I wasn't even his priority. And he was doing something. He just looked up at me and said, I'll find your paperwork. I'm going to find your paperwork. And that man found my paperwork. And as a result of that man finding my paperwork, I didn't go home. I was admitted. And that same man gave me a big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And that same man was my counselor. And I was separated in treatment. I wasn't convinced. I hadn't surrendered. But the seed was planted, and that person was Keith. So 29 years ago is when I met up with you guys. And I still wasn't convinced. Because, see, all I needed was one more Broadway show, don't you know? I'll go get that, go back to New York, be the toast of the town, everything will be good, right? Me and the kids. Because, the husband had to go. Too much. Too much. Right? I was always self-supported through my own contribution. So I understand what that means. But that contribution almost killed me because I made way too much money and I had no information and still no power. Still no power. I knew of God, didn't have a relationship. I knew my mama's God, didn't want anything to do with that one. Oh, no, no, no. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. How I'm going to be in church all day on Sunday and you're going to cuss me out Monday through Saturday? And I'm supposed to be cool with that. I'm good. Never said, okay, I don't believe in God. I never went there. I just ignored it. I ignored that there was even a power. I was the power. Because I told you since I was 12, I was figuring stuff out. Not what the normal 12-year-old figures out. I'm figuring out how to get the hell out without getting pregnant and being self-supporting in my own contributions. By the time I was 15, I was on the road. By the time I was 16, I was living in Europe. Working professionally. So that's my thinking. I'm going to work it out. No power until I got to this place. And I was introduced to the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I was introduced to meetings like this, and I was a little perturbed with Bill, with Dr. Silkworth. I was a little perturbed with him when he called me an outright mental defective. And step 2 was like insanity. I'm not insane. You know, who's a psychopath? Who you calling a psychopath? I'll never forget that. Who are you calling a psychopath? You know, I'm from New York, you know. So there was that, you know. I am so grateful that somebody sat down that had working knowledge of this program, who was armed with facts about themselves, but who had a power greater than their self because they got it from somebody else. And I'm a watcher. People, you know, again, I've been around the world and right? So I hear a lot of things. People have been telling me shit all my life, like, I love you. You're my little sister. You know, I'm going to take care of you. I won't hit you anymore. I've been hearing that all my life. I see how you walking today before I even engage. Because my spirit, the God in me, needs to touch the God in you. The God in you needs to touch the God in me. Something has to happen spiritually. Remember I said I came in with a soul sickness. And the book told me that when my spirit straightens out, everything else is going to be good. If, oh, that word if I do some work, not just because I'm sitting in the seat, not just because that, you know, I'm drinking that good coffee. No, if I do some work. Am I willing? Am I willing to turn my will and my life, my will, the same will that carried me through having 4 kids as a single mom, traveling all over the world, not asking anybody for anything, that will. Am I willing to turn that will over to the care? So when I got there in 97, I wasn't convinced. So I did what I do. Got a great show, went back to New York, was in New York for a while, and I'm talking about in 7 months, I was in New York. From New York, I went on a tour. First stop was Washington, D.C. Never saw anything past Washington, D.C. By the time we got to D.C., I went into my production manager's office and said, you know, I got a problem. And of course, you know, they're like, oh, you know, you signed a year contract, so you can't get out this contract. And I said, oh yeah, I can get out. Because if you don't let me out, I'll be dead before we leave this city. I'll be dead before we get to the next city. And she heard that. And then we sat down and talked, and I was able to share what was going on with me honestly. And that was probably the most honest that I had been with anybody since I left that treatment facility in 97. Now it's 98. And so everything had to go. I didn't go back to New York, where all my enablers were. I didn't come back to LA, where all the people, you know, that I can manipulate, because we know who to call when we're ready to, you know, here's the bullshit, right? We know who to call. I'm going to call that person because they're going to co-sign my stuff. I surrendered in Washington, D.C. And I went to a program, and I signed the paperwork, and I saw a 24-day program because it was all women. I was like, well, all women, because, you know, again, I don't like broads, right? Because those broads that were my sisters that were supposed to protect me, they didn't. But the truth was I didn't like me. I was that broad, right? So I surrendered. It didn't matter. It's all women. I don't care. 24 days, I can do that. Let's go. Well, the day after I signed the paperwork, and we're sitting in group, they reminded me, or didn't know. There was a 0 behind that 24. It was a 240-day program with a bunch of women in the red light district of Washington, D.C. It wasn't even in the Shishiwawa area. It was in the red light district of Washington, D.C., and I stayed put. I stayed put. And I went to AA meetings and woo, there was some AA people back then. They just weren't nice, and it didn't shake me. It was what I needed. So fast forward, now I get it. Now I get it. I come back to Los Angeles, and I get a sponsor who has a sponsor who has a sponsor. I have commitments. I'm still with my kids. And now I'm sitting in rooms like this, and there are women that are sharing about having their kids taken away. Instant resentment, because I wanted to know how come nobody came and got my motherfucking kids. Nobody came and got my kids. Nobody. Nobody. But for me today, I know that was the biggest blessing ever, because those kids taught me so much about me. And I didn't get sober for my kids. So what happened was that I got to recover from this disease that I have, to get some more information, to get in touch with a power, because that's what the steps did. You all got me connected with a power greater than myself. And I got a really, really big God, because I got a really, really big life. But I came in with a big life. I came in with a big external life, not a big internal life. Little by little, that big hole that was in my belly started getting filled up with more God and less nonsense. More God and less chaos. More God and less me. More of willingness. I got fed with willingness just to help another human being. But the first 5 years, it was about helping another alcoholic. That was it. But the truth of the matter is, I don't live in these rooms. So how can I be of maximum service? It's not just to alcoholics. I'm of maximum service to whoever needs me. And that's why I got to pray and meditate. I got to ask God what's going on, what we doing? And then I meditate so I can hear and be willing to get the directions. I need directions every day. I still do the same things that I did when I was 30, 60, 90 days. The book tells me how to wake up. The book tells me how to go to sleep. I still deal with gratitude every day. I talk to an alcoholic or 2 or 3 or 5 every day. I'm back in a big book workshop. But there's no magic like the magic of sitting across the room with another alcoholic, with that big book, and watching the light come on. Watching the light come on, and it's not my light. It is not my light. That's the light of God that I get to see through you all. I get to see the God in you all, whether you know it or not. And that's a beautiful thing for someone like me, who had so much will and so much self-reliance. You know, I'm in the work with my sponsor, and I'm on step 12. And I'm going through emotional sobriety. I've been through, the big book a few times, the 12 and 12 a few times, Drop the Rock, all of that stuff. I need it all. It's not just one thing for me. It's a little bit of it all. Sometimes Drop the Rock hits you. Something's going on with a character defect, like today. And stuff comes alive. It just comes, and it's something that I read or something that I'm feeling. Everything is not peachy every day. Not every day. Most days, it's freaking fabulous. I woke up sober. I got a God that loves me. I got a fellowship that I crave. I got a fellowship that I love and a fellowship that loves me. I get to be of service. I get to watch somebody new come in scared like I was, not knowing what's going on, what's going to happen with this, that, and the third, and watch them just sit down and just go, because that's what I needed to do. Every day I get to breathe in God and blow out Carla, and some days when I breathe in God and blow out Carla, I'm like, run, get away from me. Because that's how I feel sometimes. I'm still an alcoholic. I go to sleep sober, but I wake up with alcoholism. It wakes me up. And it's not always kind. I hear things the way that I hear them. You know, we all have that voice. And today what it's like is that I get to have relationships on purpose. I get to have intentional relationships with all types of people, not just intimate relationships. I'm talking about all types of people. I get to love everyone, but it doesn't mean that everyone gets access to me. Because everybody doesn't mean me well. And that's okay, because that's for me to pay attention. I have to pay attention and stay aware. And how do I do that? Prayer and meditation. Real simple. But when y'all said that this stuff was simple, you wasn't playing. You know, I really try to keep life really simple for someone who seems to have a really complicated life. It just seems that way. I like being home, watching TV, cooking. Those kids that I talked about, those 50 million 11 kids that I have, they're grown. Because I'm sober, I got to see my grandson born. And now I get to talk to him about colleges now, because he's on his way to college next year. So we're looking at colleges, you know. My granddaughter gets to say, hey, Nana, I need a break. And I'm like, a break? You're 11. At the time, she was 11. This was like last month. A break? A break from what? Breathing, you know? She was like, no, I need a break from my dad. I said, oh. See, my son is a single father. And see, he used to FaceTime me every morning at 6:30 to complain. And then I would get off the phone and complain to one of his siblings until I realized, wait a minute, I don't want to hear this shit. Why do I think that they want to hear this shit? You know what I mean? So I stopped complaining to the siblings and went back into that serenity prayer. God, grant me, God, please give this to me with peace. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Okay, that's him and what's going on with him. The courage, the courage to change the things I can. That's what we're doing today. So when I got that last FaceTime call at 6:30 in the morning, it sounded like this. Yo, check this out. Why do you think I want to see your ass at 6:30 every morning? Every morning? Complaining? That's not good for my spirit. And I was able to tell him precisely, just like the book tells me precisely. Sometimes I could be a little too precise about things. But I need to know precisely so I know how to gauge. So I know if I don't know what's going on, I don't know how to feel about what's going on. I got to know what's going on. And I just want to know the truth. I surround myself with people who deal with the truth with themselves, because if I don't, see, I know where those good enablers are, the people that'll tell me the things that I want to hear. And if I believe that, and I rest on my laurels, then I'll start believing that I don't need to sit down and sponsor all these women that I'm sponsoring, or that I don't need to take commitments anymore because I got double digits. I don't need to do the things that gave me the life, and I don't mean the external life. Remember, I had the external life when I came in. I'm talking about peace. I'm talking about that life that has no price tag on it. That life that you can't buy. That peace of mind and peace of spirit. Not just the mind. Me, I need the peace of spirit. Because if I have the peace of spirit, I can work out what's going on in my mind because I got the God in me talking to me. It's not me talking to me. It's not the BS. That's the stuff that I have, that I got in these rooms. And that's why I keep doing what I keep doing. I will put my hand out. Look, I will sponsor a goat if they having an alcohol problem and can talk. We hear things over the years from this podium, and what I try not to do is spread infection, right? I already have a disease, and my job is to carry the message of hope, the message that's in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, the stuff that was passed down to me that's in the black print. That's what I like to carry. Because I can come up here, I already got a whole lot of opinions. Y'all don't want to hear my opinions. You really don't. I can have you doing some wild things, I can have you thinking about it, and why? When it's written in such masterly detail. I love when he said that shit. Masterly detail. Like grand detail, right? I don't have to do too much thinking because that's where my disease is centered, in my thinking. But see, I'm not powerless. I'm power-filled now because I have tapped into a power far greater than myself, and I have a conscious contact with that power. I consciously do stuff today. And some of the things that I consciously do today is say no. Because remember, I tell you I'm a recovered people pleaser. And sometimes no, that's it, period. That's a whole sentence. I'm tired of explaining shit. I don't have to keep explaining shit. I get an attitude when I gotta keep explaining because you might not be ready to hear what I have to say anyway. So then I let you have your own experience. And it might feel like I'm disconnecting, or it might feel like I'm not paying attention or that I don't care anymore. That's not the truth. The truth is I have an assignment every day. My assignment comes from the Most High. That's where my assignment comes from. So the man, the kids, the grandkids will never be first. They just won't. They're not second. I'm second. So depending on who it is and what day it is, I don't know where you're going to fall. You might fall 2 or 3. You might fall 3 or 4. I don't know. Depends on the kid. I'm not going to say depends on the man because I only got one. But I don't know where you're going to fall because it's not my business. It's no longer my business. What you think about me, it's not my business. I have been relieved of public opinion. I really have. And I try to do this thing one day at a time, sometimes one moment at a time. Just because I have time doesn't mean that I don't go through things I do. In 2018, I'm going to say this and I'm going to wrap it up. In 2018, my mother died, and I had 20 years. We buried her on my 20th birthday, right? When I had 3 years of sobriety, my father died. My father died on my sober birthday. So both of my parents and my sobriety birthday have a much deeper meaning than just my parents died, right? My father, the last thing he said to me was, you stay with them people. Y'all are them people. Because see, he got on a plane from New York and flew out to California to see what happened. Because all of a sudden, he was able to sleep. All of a sudden, he wasn't saying things to me like, I hope you got your affairs in order. Yeah. What you gonna do with them kids? Yeah, stuff like that. All of a sudden, all that stuff stopped. My mom and I, not the greatest relationship, but you know what? I met her right where she was. When I got sober, I was able to be the best daughter that I can be. See, today I do my best. I don't do your best. If I try to keep up with your expectations of what you think I should be doing, and I'm thinking about, am I keeping up with the expectation of what you think I should be doing, I'm fucked. That's just too much. So today I just do my best. And I hope that I'm in the right lane, and that I meet the course. And if I don't, and you tell me what it is that I can do better, I'll listen. And if I can do better, I will. And if I can, I'll say, you know what? I can't do that. And if you're not okay with that, I understand. But I'm not going to make shit up anymore just to make you feel better. I did that. I recovered from that. I'm still recovering from that. One day at a time, I'm going to keep doing what I've been doing. And I'm going to keep doing what you all taught me how to do. And again, I want to thank you all for listening. Have a wonderful night. Thank you for letting me share.